and let us all do what we can to build a better future.
Censorship on social media is getting out of control. Here on YouTube specifically, it's getting worse. So thank you, Patreons, for all your support. Without you, we would not exist. And again, there's outlets like Substack that help independent journalists speak their minds. Thank goodness for Rockfin and Odyssey as well. Thank goodness for Rumble. But the battle for free speech is an uphill fight. And we all know what's happening right now with the drama on Twitter. And let's be very clear what Twitter is. At this point, it's a pool of raw sewage and crap mixing all together, all the toxic waste. Twitter is a cesspool. There's no change in it. But hey, it's an addicting cesspool that we're all bathing in, and there's nothing anyone can do to fix it. Now, we talked about Elon Musk buying some shares on Twitter. I want to see what he's going to do. But at no point, don't look at any of these billionaires or executives as being a hero. But I want to see what he was going to do. I want to see if really he's going to do something phenomenal. If not, oh hey, guess what? Another billionaire being a jagoff. There we go. Nothing new. I just want to see. Because again, there's this weird pushback that we are seeing from corporate media and a lot of blue checkmark journalists saying, we got to stop Elon Musk because we have to protect free speech. This is the same Twitter that, again, the same Twitter that suppresses a lot of independent media, destroys their accounts. So I'm going to pull up this article from Matt Taibbi. So Elon Musk has reportedly attempted to purchase Twitter, and I have no idea whether his influence on the company would be positive or not. None of us do. I mean, again, if he does something, fine. If he does something great to make the platform interesting, okay. If not, well, then he's wasting all of our times and nothing fundamentally changed because it's going to get worse no matter who's in charge. I do know, however, what other media figures think about Musk's influence on Twitter will be. They think it'll be bad. Very, very bad. How none of them see what a self-owned this is beyond me. After spending the last 6 years practically triggered with joy as other uncountable billionaires tweak the speech landscape in their favor, they're suddenly howling over the mere rumor that a less censorious fat cat might get to sit in one of the big chairs. Oh, the inhumanity. A few of the more prominent Musk critics are claiming merely to be upset at the prospect of wealthy individuals controlling speech. That's already happened. You got Jeff Bezos, the guy who can't get it all the way up into space, who owns the Washington Post. Billionaires controlling everything. The United States is an oligarchy. Nothing new. If we really want to do something, we got to support independent media at this point. As more than one person has pointed out, this is a bizarre thing to be worrying about all of a sudden, since it's the absolute reality in America for a while. Probably the funniest effort along those lines was this passage. We need regulation to prevent rich people from controlling our channels of communication. So, you're talking about, again, getting rid of CNN, Fox News? Great, I love that. Again, that was Ellen Powell, former CEO of Reddit, railing against Musk in the pages of The Washington Post. The newspaper owned by Jeff Bezos, complaining about rich people controlling channels of communication just might be the never-realized punchline of Monty Python's classic funniest joke in the world skit. Many detractors went the Powell route, suddenly getting religion about the concentrated wealth having control over public discourse. In a world that had not yet gone completely nuts, that is probably where the outrage campaign would have ended, since the oligarchical control issue could at least be a legitimate one if printed in a newspaper not owned by Jeff Bezos. However, they didn't stop there. Media figures were everywhere are openly complaining that they dislike Musk's move because they're terrified he will censor people less. Bullethead neoconservative fussbudget Max Boot was among the most emphatic in expressing his fear of a less censored world. I am frightened by the impact on society and politics if Elon Musk acquires Twitter. He seems to believe that on social media anything goes. For democracy to survive, we need more content moderation, not less. Max Boot. This is the guy who probably put a boot on your throat and say, "Hey, don't worry about it. It's just controlling speech. You're being too violent." In every newsroom I've been around, there's always one sad hack who's hated by other reporters, but hangs on to a job because he whispers things to management and is good at writing pro-war editors or fawning profiles of Ari Fleischer or Ida Im or other such distasteful media tasks. Even that person would never have been willing to go publicly to say something as gross as, for democracy to survive, it needs more censorship. A professional journalist who's opposed free speech was not long ago considered a logical impossibility because the whole idea of a free press depended on the absolute right to be an unpopular pain in the ass. Things are different now, of course, because the bulk of journalists no longer see themselves as outsiders who challenge official PETs, but rather as people who live inside the rope lines and defend those people. I'm guessing this latest news is arousing special horror because the current version of Twitter is a professional journalist's idea of utopia, a place where Donald Trump doesn't exist, everyone with unorthodox thoughts is a warning label, age-restricted, content seems to be a popular recent scam, and the current thing is constantly hyped to the moronic max. The site used to be fun, funny, and a great tool for exchanging information. Now it feels like the world would be if the 8 most vile people in Brooklyn were put in charge of all human life. A giant, hyper-pretentious Starbucks. Again, great work from Matt Taibbi. Yeah. At this point, who knows what Elon Musk would do if he's going to buy Twitter or not. They're doing everything they can to make sure that he doesn't. Whether something changes or doesn't, it doesn't change the fact that, again, we have these billionaires controlling speech. Nothing's changing. We have to build movements and organizations outside the influence of corporations. That's what we have to do, and it's a heavy task to do. I just want everyone to understand that this is only the beginning, unfortunately. It's not going to get easier. I want to pull up just a tweet from Glenn Greenwald here real quick. So, as we scroll through this, yesterday was a flagship day in corporate media. It was a day they were forced to explicitly state what has long been clear. They not only favor censorship, but desperately crave and depend on it. Even if Musk doesn't buy Twitter, never forget what yesterday revealed. And scroll down. Let's look at this. In U.S. culture, we're insulated. Sorry, I'm just laughing my ass off how stupid this all is. Hold on, let's remove that tweet here for a second. Let's remove that tweet. Let's look at what we saw yesterday. We saw firsthand corporate media say, and all these journalists, that we got to get rid of speech. We cannot, under any circumstances, have any more speech. I mean, I don't know if Elon Musk is ever going to do that. Probably not. Probably not. Maybe he does. But don't hero worship a billionaire. Never do that. But I want to see what he would have done. Or what he could do. Let's pull up this next tweet, because there's a video here that should be played. Glenn Greenwald managed to clip it, so let's play the video in its entirety.
There are real and devastating consequences for using that platform to lie, and we've seen it. We've seen it happen. I wonder, when talking about this, it's it's kind of funny. Oh, Elon Musk wants to buy it, but there are massive life and globe altering consequences for just letting people run wild on the thing.
Yes, 100%. But that's Facebook is really where the real action is in that. So this is a very small company. It has an outsized influence because media people like it, politicians, world leaders, and Elon Musk. And so one of the issues is if he's not going to do this, and by the way, Twitter and some of its biggest investors, like Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, are saying no, and they're putting poison pills in. What is he going to do? He's going to have to somehow unload this 10% stake, and that's probably what he's going to have to do, or raise private financing, which has its own risks and possible rewards, but a lot of risks for him.
Well, I didn't play the soundbite, but he was asked if there's a plan B, and he laughed and said there is. We'll find out what that is.
That's what a super villain hero would say, right? He thinks he's Tony Stark, right? That's what they'd say. However you feel about him, that's what Tony Stark would say.
Kara Swisher, it is always.
Okay. So yeah, they're laughing about it. So let's pull up this tweet from Glenn Greenwald again. So yesterday was a flagship day in corporate media. It was a day they were forced to explicitly state what has long been clear. They not only favor censorship, as we saw in that video, but desperately crave and depend on it. Even if Musk doesn't buy Twitter, never forget what yesterday revealed. In U.S. culture, we're inculcated from childhood that censorship is bad. Censorship is bad. So, of course, nobody, especially journalists, wants to say, I favor censorship. That's why they need euphemisms like content moderation to pretend it's about bots, abuse, and rather than ideology. Everyone knows they're lying. Nobody cares about Twitter censoring bots or spam. That's not what this is about. The social media censorship people care about is 100% ideology, banning dissent on COVID, the Biden emails, culture war debates, etc. That's what's at stake. Let's put it this way. On Google, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, you are free to say the 2016 elections were stolen and fraudulent, but you can't say that about 2020. YouTube, I'm not saying that, but there you go. Before the 2020 election, you weren't allowed to post reporting on Biden emails. It's all ideological. Throughout the COVID pandemic, you weren't allowed to question the efficiency of cloth masks. You weren't allowed to interrogate the origins of the virus. You weren't allowed to debate vaccines or lockdowns. No dissent from Fauci, the World Health Organization, was allowed. The censorship is 100% political. You're allowed to spread any lies, propaganda, and disinformation you want if it advances the Ukrainian cause, i.e. U.S.-NATO cause, but will be instantly banned if you say anything that challenges on the ground of Russia disinformation. This is all explicit. Look what happened to RT America. Look what happened. Look what's happening to a lot of content creators on Twitter. Case Study QB's Twitter page, if you go to it incognito, Twitter says it's dangerous. Twitter says that it's violent. All what Case Study QB is posting on his Twitter page, if you go there incognito, is nothing but clips from corporate media. Clips from corporate media. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC. And it's pretty sad that that's the case for Case Study. But it proves the point that, again, corporate media is fraud. They've always been frauds. Now, I want to pull up again with the rest of this tweet here. Censorship of conservatives gets the most attention because it's so common. But censorship of anti-establishment leftists is also frequent. Any dissent can be banned. Pretending that this is about bots or spam is fraudulent. This censorship is about control of political information. Social media was heralded as an innovation that would liberate individuals from centralized control by the state and oligarchical power over their speech. It has been the exact opposite, the most powerful tool of information control and speech constraints ever devised. How dumb do you have to be to believe that journalists who work at Bloomberg and then Bezos' own Washington Post or Comcast or CNN are worried about billionaires controlling media? They're only petrified that the wrong billionaire, who may not censor for them, might reign. There are many reasons to be skeptical of Musk's motives, and even if pure, his ability to restore free speech to Twitter, again, way too many powerful interests need this censorship. But the panic reveals so much. Again, you can check the rest of this out in Glenn Greenwald's podcast. And the reason why I'm laughing right now is because 6 times we've been hit with censorship on our YouTube channel. And the aftermath of our 6th hit really hit us hard because there's a lot that we want to do. I want to pull up this 20-second video of Elon Musk just explaining why he wants to be part of Twitter, buy it. Whether anyone wants to believe him or not, or if he's being sincere, that's your opinion and your decision to make. All I know is this. The more billionaires that are controlling media, social media, the more quieter it's going to get for all of us. And yet, this is America, where corporations and the top 1% control everything. Let's play this video.
My strong intuitive sense is that having a public platform that is maximally trusted and broadly inclusive is extremely important to the future of civilization.
But you've described yourself.
I don't care about the economics at all.
Okay, that's cool to hear.
My
All right,
strong.
It's going to be repeating itself. Now, the thing is, this mask reveal of journalists shocked that Musk wants to buy Twitter, their panties are all in a bunch. They're all scared. They're all frightened. I want to pull up this video here of Tulsi Gabbard talking about Max Boot, how, again, he wants to put more censorship in. Let's play this video.
Now, Max Boot, who regularly appears on mainstream media to warmonger, has perfectly illustrated the thinking of those in power. They believe that in order to save our democracy, we must destroy it. And in order to protect freedom of speech, we must end it. Now, the scary thing is he's not alone in this thinking. This is something that's regularly expressed by people in power. And because the most powerful and influential people in our country have this attitude, and this is the way that they think, it's no wonder that we see more and more Americans who also believe it's okay to censor people's speech if it makes them feel uncomfortable or if it's offensive to them. So they either don't know what our Constitution and Bill of Rights are, or worse yet, people like Max Boot don't believe in them. Now, our leaders have to set the tone. They lead the way, and this is the dangerous attitude that they are spreading. So to save our democratic republic, we have to stand up and protect our freedoms. We have to stand up and uphold and protect our Constitution and our Bill of Rights.
So I want to at least acknowledge people in the live stream chat. Shout out to Elon who says, turn all these social media outlets and the internet into public utilities, which I agree with. Blue Lantern says, neoliberals on the left, neo-fascists on the right. Again, Ferocious Gustafan says, if this speech is so dangerous, wouldn't the censors be corrupted and allow the information through? Censorship doesn't all make sense unless you assume the censor is particularly smart and incorruptible. And by the way, LOL, Blue Lantern says, LOL, MSNBC, the most trusted corporate shills. Agreed. Stumped DL says, censorship is to corrupt your vote. Censorship is to undermine representation. Again, censorship is not the answer. So how do we kind of wrap everything up? Maybe with satire, because again, when this video came out, people thought it was real. Now again, just so all of you know, because I think Twitter is filled with a lot of people who might be brain dead, this video is satire, but boy, it rings some truth. Let's play it.
Tony Fernandez. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the lead of content moderation here at Twitter. Before I get started, I would just like to acknowledge that Twitter's head office occupies the unceded ancestral homelands of the Ramaytush peoples, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. It's not theirs in the sense that we've ever provided them any sort of compensation, nor do we intend to, but we contribute with our words, which is basically as good as money to them. Fun fact, they don't even believe in money, or have a word for it. The reason I'm making this video is in response to Elon Musk recently purchasing 9% of Twitter. Normally I wouldn't dare call out a neurodivergent African American. However, I feel compelled to, as our democracy and the safety of my coworkers is at stake. Mr. Musk has accused Twitter of being against free speech. However, Vladimir Putin and the head of the Taliban both have accounts on our platform. Explain that. We can't. I mean, you can't. Sure, we banned the sitting president of the United States for life with no recourse, but had we not done that, the QAnon shaman would probably be the Speaker of the House right now. And we admitted we screwed up by not allowing the New York Post story about Hunter Biden's laptop to be shared right before the election, but we had a policy about not sharing hacked materials at the time. And, in our defense, we did reverse that policy, which allowed all the donors to that Canadian Nazi trucker convoy to be exposed. So we do get some things right. Like recently when we locked the account of the satire site The Babylon Bee for calling Rachel Levine Man of the Year. She is a woman, and we don't allow hateful content on our platform that isn't directed at the previous administration or any members of the Russian government. More importantly, Twitter is a private business and has the right to refuse service to anyone we choose. Just like a restaurant that won't serve an unvaccinated person, but not like a bakery that won't bake a cake for a gay couple. Mr. Musk fails to realize that with every tweet criticizing Twitter, he puts every one of us in real danger and will face violence in the form of tweets that they have to see. Please, Elon, reconsider.
FaZe, you're laughing. There were some people who thought that was a real video of a Twitter employee. There were. No, there were real people. Even like already watching, I was like, no, this is not legit. Like they'd be playing. There would be more Twitter people there. Each one and that one would be funnier. It'd be like, we can't have Elon buy us because What about the other billionaires that want to just put it up our rear end and we'll just thank them for it? Again. So don't worry, folks. It looks like Elon might not be able to buy Twitter. I know. Because there's already Wall Street executives and hedge funds that are buying Twitter already. Remember, the original big people who owned Twitter way back when it first started, a lot of hedge funds. So Twitter adopted a so-called poison pill. So basically, this is their plan B, you know, because they don't want Elon Musk all inside them, right? So they're adopting the so-called poison pill Friday that would help prevent it from undergoing a hostile acquisition after Elon Musk put in an offer to buy the social media company for $43 billion. The board unanimously adopted the limited duration shareholder rights plan. Under the plan, if any person or group acquires 15% or more of Twitter stock without the board's approval, other shareholders are allowed to purchase additional shares at a discount. The rights plan will reduce the likelihood of any entity, person, or group gains control of Twitter through an open market accumulation without paying all shareholders an appropriate control premium or without providing the board sufficient time to make informed judgments and take actions that are in the best interest of shareholders, Twitter said in a press release. The plan is set to expire in 1 year. A spokesperson for Twitter said that the company won't be communicating further. Silent. Violence. The move is Twitter's counterattack to an offer Musk filed Wednesday with the Securities Exchange Commission to buy the company. Musk's bid to take over Twitter came after he declined a spot on its board of directors after he acquired a 9.2% stake in the company last week. Diane Ayers, analyst for Wedbush Securities, said the poison pill is a predictable defensive measure for the board and will not be viewed positively by shareholders given the potential dilution and acquisition unfriendly move. The board has their back against the wall, and Musk and shareholders will likely challenge the merits of the poison pill in the courts. It sounds like a really bad, story from Playboy or Penthouse in a way, because the board has their back against the wall, and Musk and shareholders will likely challenge the merits of the poison pill in courts. I mean, phase discipline. I've tested you twice today already, and you're laughing over there. The discipline phase. I'm testing you always. Always.
My back was against the wall.
I'm testing you. How dare you how dare you laugh? None of you laughed either. This is all a test. Come on. Miguel H., you still have your homework assignment. Don't forget that, man. So anyways, continuing on. The board has their back against the wall, and Musk and shareholders will likely challenge the merits of the poison pill in courts. Again, really? We believe Musk and his team expected this poker move, which will be perceived as a sign of weakness, not strength by the street, I've said in an email. In Musk's letter to Twitter board chairman Brett Taylor filed with the SEC, he said his offer was his best and final. It is not clear what Musk's next move will be, but at a TED conference Thursday, he said he has a plan B that he is not yet sharing yet publicly. All right. There you go. What's going to happen with Twitter? Maybe he buys it, maybe he doesn't. But we do know this. The censorship is getting out of control on social media, and the fight for free speech in America is becoming that much more difficult.